Hello learners, and welcome to this online session. Today we'll be talking about nutrition prophylaxis programs. This is in continuation to the earlier program, the supplementary feeding programs we talked about, and this is part of the certificate program in food and nutrition, course 3, Economics of Food, block 2, unit 7. I'm Deeksha Kapoor from the discipline of Nutritional Sciences, Indira Gandhi National Open University. So learners, in the last session, we observed that undernutrition due to inadequate food intake is prevalent among large population groups, mainly among children and women. Therefore, in an effort to ensure proper nutrition to these vulnerable sections in both urban and rural areas, the government at the center and the state level have taken up special feeding programs. And you learned that these feeding programs provide a food supplement, that is an additional energy and protein in the diet of the children below 6 years, adolescent girls, pregnant lactating mothers, so as to bridge the gap between what is missing in their diet. In addition to providing the food supplement, nutrient supplementation to prevent major nutrient deficiency disorders have been also initiated by the government. Several prophylaxis meaning preventive programs have been initiated, and underneath these programs, commercially prepared vitamin and mineral supplements are supplied as compared to the food supplement under the feeding programs. And these mineral vitamin supplements are supplied to vulnerable sections of the society. And these programs are called the nutrient deficiency control programs or nutrition prophylaxis program. These are short-term measures to combat malnutrition. So today in this session, we will focus on these programs, the objective and need for nutrient supplementation, the origin and operation of some important nutrition prophylaxis programs in our country. Therefore, let us get started by looking at the objectives of the nutrient prophylaxis program. Like the supplementary feeding programs, the main objective of the nutrient prophylaxis program is to improve the nutritional status of the community. And what is the nutritional status? By now, it must be very clear to you that there are many nutritional problems or nutritional deficiencies affecting large population groups in our country. You know, anemia in children and pregnant women is a major problem. Vitamin A deficiency among children, particularly preschool children, iodine deficiency disorders affecting large population groups are prevalent. Let us understand these to know why we need the nutrient. Nutritional anemia is a serious public health problem. It especially affects women in the reproductive age group and young children. Almost 50% of pregnant women or women in the reproductive age group are anemic. This directly or indirectly is responsible for large number of maternal deaths. And what are the consequences? High incidence of premature births, low birth weight infants, and perinatal mortality. The maternal malnutrition leads to these. Let us understand the causes, consequences of maternal anemia. We have seen that maternal low dietary intake, particularly low intake of iron, folate in the diet of the pregnant mother, can lead to anemia. We have already looked at the nutrient needs of pregnant women earlier in course 2, and we talked about the importance of iron in the diet of the pregnant mother. Iron is needed not only for the expansion of the blood volume, which helps nourish the fetus, but iron is also stored in the fetus and this iron is taken from the mother's diet. This stored fetal iron is used after birth. For the first few months after birth, the child depends on the iron needs on these fetal stores. Therefore, if the maternal diet is inadequate, it can lead to anemia or lack of iron, and this will have grave consequences in terms of low birth weight, in terms of prematurity, and such a child will have high risks of perinatal mortality. Besides the child, anemia among pregnant women also has consequences in terms of maternal morbidity and mortality. Therefore, it is very essential that iron need to be provided in the form of a nutrient to the mothers. Let us look at the next nutrition problem, which is vitamin A deficiency. Vitamin A deficiency has been recognized as a major public health problem, and preschool children are affected, and we've learnt about the manifestations of vitamin A deficiency as ocular manifestations and blindness, Bitot spots, corneal xerophthalmia, and other such symptoms we've already talked about. It is interesting to note that even mild vitamin A deficiency increases morbidity and mortality in children, and therefore it emphasizes the public health importance of this disorder. Inadequate consumption of vitamin A rich foods or the diet lacking in vitamin A by pregnant lactating women and children under 5 years of age is a major contributory factor. Foods, we know that vitamin A is available from animal foods in the form of retinol. So, not available or inavailability of milk and milk products, or beta carotene, which is the other form of vitamin A, which is available from green leafy vegetables, orange, yellow colored fruits and vegetables. Inavailability of these foods lead to this problem, nutrition problem in our country. The third problem is the iodine deficiency disorder. We've already learned about these three major deficiency disorders affecting large groups. IDD includes a spectrum of disabling conditions which affect the health of human starting from life in the womb through adulthood due to inadequate dietary intake of iodine. And you may recall goiter, the swelling of the thyroid gland, is due to this deficiency. We learned that iodine is required for the production of the hormone thyroxine, which is produced by the thyroid gland. And this thyroxine is required for normal health development of the individual. Therefore, if there is deficiency of this important mineral iodine, it is a trace element, or it is required in very small amount, yet it is a very important nutrient, and today it has become a major public health problem. What is the cause? Well, environment deficiency in iodine. The food, water, soil have reduced amount of iodine. As a result, the foods which are grown on this deficient soil, these foods lack in iodine, and when they are consumed, they may lead to iodine deficiency among the population which are living in those areas. Therefore, the diets of people living in those regions needs to be supplemented with iodine, and that is why the need of iodine or the nutrient prophylaxis program need to be initiated. With this understanding, therefore, in an effort to ensure proper nutrition to the children and women in both rural urban areas, the government, like the supplementary feeding programs, have taken up following steps to prevent major nutritional disorders we've just talked about. Supplementation of iron and folic acid to prevent iron deficiency anemia. The second is supplementation of vitamin A to prevent night blindness among preschool children, and supplementation of iodine to prevent goiter in certain regions. Therefore, the government has implemented various preventive programs known as the prophylactic programs, and they are operated through the health department of the state to combat malnutrition. Here are the ongoing programs which we would like to talk about. The National Prophylaxis Program for prevention of blindness due to vitamin A deficiency. We have the National Anemia Control Program. Today it is also called the Iron Plus Initiative. And the third is the National Iodine Deficiency Disorder Control Program. Let us look at each one of them. The first is the National Prophylaxis Program for prevention of blindness due to vitamin A deficiency. Well, vitamin A deficiency has been recognized as a controllable public health nutrition program. Now, the body can store large amount of vitamin A. You know that vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin. So, when we take high doses of vitamin A, it can be stored in the body. Therefore, in situations when the dietary intake of vitamin A is low, so to provide for this nutrient, to ensure adequate storage of this nutrient so that it can be used as needed, we supplement the diet of children with large doses of vitamin A. Hence, the need for the National Prophylaxis Program for the prevention of nutrition blindness. What are the objectives of this program? It is to protect children 9 months to 5 years at risk from vitamin A deficiency. And who are the target groups? All children 9 months to 5 years, particularly those living in rural, tribal, urban slum areas, are beneficiaries of this program. There are two strategies under this program. One is prevention and the other is treatment. Let us look at the preventive strategies. Among the preventive strategies, there is a long-term strategy and a short-term strategy. The long-term strategy is to promote consumption of vitamin A rich food. That is what works in the long term. And the short-term strategy is to provide a vitamin A supplement. Administer a massive dose of vitamin A to the beneficiaries. So, what is the long-term strategy of promoting consumption of vitamin A rich foods? We've already talked about dietary intake of vitamin A rich foods for pregnant lactating mothers. So, feeding locally available beta carotene rich foods. We've already talked about that yellow, orange colored foods, fruits and vegetables, mango, you have pumpkin, carrots, green leafy vegetables. Feeding these along with cereal pulses can improve the vitamin A status. In addition, retinol, obtaining it from milk and milk products, they can go a long way in improving the vitamin A status. But most important is nutrition education, awareness of the importance of preventing vitamin A deficiency and encouraging breastfeeding among infants will go a long way as a long-term measure. Let us look at the short-term measure, which is administering massive dose of vitamin A, and this is given to preschool children at periodical intervals in a simple, effective, most direct intervention strategy. Unlike most other nutrients, we know that vitamin A can be stored for prolonged period, hence periodic administration ensures adequate vitamin A status. Every infant 6 to 11 months and children 1 to 6 years is administered vitamin A Priority is given for coverage for children 9 months to 3 years, since the highest prevalence of clinical signs of vitamin A deficiency is reported in this age group. So, what is the recommended schedule? At 9 months, when the child comes for the measles immunization, one dose of 1 lakh international unit of vitamin A is provided. At 16 to 18 months, when the child comes for the DPT booster immunization, another dose of 2 lakh international unit of vitamin A is given, and every 6 months thereafter up to 5 years, particularly in regions where vitamin A deficiency is prevalent, a repeat dose of 2 lakh international unit of vitamin A is administered. All children with clinical signs, that what we talked was the preventive strategy, but children who have frank clinical signs of vitamin A deficiency, they need to be treated, and the treatment schedule includes a single oral dose of 2 lakh international units of vitamin A immediately at diagnosis, and follow up dose after 1 to 4 weeks of another 2 lakh international unit of vitamin A. Infants and young children who have infections such as diarrhea, measles or acute respiratory infections must be monitored closely, and they must be encouraged to consume vitamin A rich foods, and early signs of vitamin A deficiency are observed, then treatment schedule as recommended must be followed. Let us move on to the National Anemia Control Program. Under this program, what do we have? Under this program, since nutritional anemia is a serious public health problem and affecting women in the reproductive age group and young children, the objective is to decrease the prevalence and incidence of anemia, especially in pregnant lactating women and children under 6 years of age. Who are the target groups then? So, all women of the reproductive age group 15 to 45 years, and all children 1 to 5 years, adolescent girls are the target group under this program. What is the preventive strategy? Of course, promoting regular consumption of iron rich foods. Initiative under this program, the nutrient initiative is promoting iron folic acid supplementation in these high risk group. So, as a preventive measure, a long term measure, the dietary measure is to promote consumption of iron rich foods like green leafy vegetables, other vegetables, nuts, meat and meat products, but also promote consumption of those foods which can enhance the absorption of iron in the diet, like the vitamin C rich foods, oranges, lemons, amla. These can be provided to children. However, under this program, the Iron Plus initiative, folic acid and iron supplementation is provided to all vulnerable groups, and here is the schedule for all children 6 months to 60 months, roughly 5 years. 20 milligrams of elemental iron, 100 micrograms of folic acid is provided bi-weekly in the form of syrup, IFA syrup, 1 ml is given. For older children 5 to 10 years, 45 milligrams of elemental iron, 400 micrograms of folic acid is given weekly. For 10 to 19 years, that is the adolescent age group, 100 milligrams of elemental iron, 500 micrograms of folic acid is given weekly in the form of a tablet. However, for pregnant and lactating women, 100 milligrams of elemental iron and 500 micrograms of folic acid is given daily, particularly during pregnancy and lactation. During pregnancy, the last 2 trimesters, for the last 6 months, every day iron folic acid tablet is to be provided. So is true for women in the reproductive age group who are non-pregnant, non-lactating, but they are given weekly doses of elemental iron and folic acid as per schedule. Let us look at the National Iodine Deficiency Disorder Control Program. Well, in 1962, the Government of India launched the National Goiter Control Program. The aim was to control goiter with supplementation of iodized salt, and this program has been revised in 2006. It is called the National Iodine Disorder Control Program. What is the objective of this program? Is to survey, to assess the magnitude of the iodine deficiency disorder and supply iodized salt in place of common salt. Survey after every 5 years to assess the extent of iodine deficiency and to study the impact of iodized salt. And of course, health education and publicity is an important objective, and laboratory monitoring of urinary iodine excretion to assess the extent of prevalence of this disorder. So, what is the control strategy? Simple: universalization of iodized salt. So, use of iodized salt, fortification of common salt with iodine is the universal practice. So, normally an individual may consume about 10 grams of common salt every day. To considering that 10 grams common salt, about 150 microgram of iodine is added under this program, so as to meet the iodine needs of the population group. It also has another provision of providing iodized oil. However, these are only used in areas where the prevalence is very high, or a tablet may be given, but use of fortified salt with iodine is one easy control strategy for iodine deficiency disorders. So, with this, we end this session. Hope you have understood the concept of nutrition prophylaxis and how it is different from the food supplementation programs we talked in the last session. Here we focused on 3 main programs: the vitamin A deficiency control programs, the anemia control programs, and the iodine deficiency disorder control program. Hope you enjoyed listening to this session. Thank you.